Imagine for a moment that you are standing in the middle of a battlefield, yet you hold no weapon in your hand. Arrows are being loosed against you, lies hurled like stones, and whispers of slander spread like wildfire around you. You feel the sting of betrayal, the ache of rejection, the weight of schemes plotted in the shadows. To the natural eye, it seems you are defenseless, vulnerable, and destined for defeat. But what if I told you that every arrow loosed against you is about to turn around in midair, that every trap set for you is about to snap back on the very hands that dug it, that every plot designed for your downfall will become the platform God uses for your rise? This is the paradox of divine justice. What was meant to harm you, God transforms into a stage for His glory. The enemy always overplays his hand. Those who attack you never truly realize that their assault is not against your strength, but against God's chosen. And when God steps in, the very force of their attack becomes the fuel for your elevation. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned. Yet every wound became a stepping stone. Every injustice carried him closer to the throne. The very betrayal that was designed to erase him became the prophecy that announced him. Have you ever noticed how the fiercest storms seem to carry the cleanest air once they pass? That is how God works in your life. The attacks you endure are not wasted. They clear the path for a new season. The harder the winds have blown against you, the stronger your roots have grown. And now, those very storms are about to backfire, sweeping away the voices that spoke against you, while leaving you standing firmer than ever. God's favor does not arrive quietly. It comes with explosive power, overturning tables, breaking chains, silencing lies, and lifting His chosen into a place no enemy can touch. Do not be dismayed by the intensity of the opposition you have faced. If anything, let it confirm how great your destiny is. Nobody throws stones at a tree without fruit. Nobody wages war against what does not threaten them. The attacks you've endured are evidence of the greatness inside you. And here is the good news. They will not have the final word. Heaven has already written the last chapter, and it ends with your vindication. When God's explosive favor shows up, it doesn't merely balance the scales. It tips them beyond measure. It multiplies. It magnifies. It announces to every observer that you are shielded, chosen, and unstoppable by human hands. Those who dug pits for you will fall into them. Those who mocked your tears will watch you crowned in joy. And those who underestimated you will be forced to witness the undeniable hand of God on your life. So hold your peace. Do not waste your energy fighting battles that belong to God. Stand still, and you will see how every scheme collapses under its own weight. The louder the attack, the greater the backfire. The deeper the wound, the higher the elevation. For God is not just preparing to defend you, He is preparing to showcase you. The traps set for you will become testimonies for you. There are moments in life when the path before you seems almost deliberately obstructed. You try to move forward, but every step appears to awaken some hidden opposition. At times it feels as though unseen hands are digging pits just ahead, waiting for you to stumble into them. These traps may take many forms: deceitful words spoken by those you trusted, schemes designed to tarnish your name, or even subtle manipulations intended to make you fall. They sting most deeply when they come from familiar faces, family, friends, or colleagues you thought were allies. Yet what you must grasp is that no trap devised against you ever escapes the all-seeing eyes of God. He is not blind to the conspiracies whispered in secret. He does not overlook the snares carefully laid in your path. And when He moves, the very pits dug to swallow you will become stages for His glory. Think of Daniel, thrown into a den of lions. That was a trap, carefully planned by men whose jealousy clouded their judgment. But what happened? The lions' mouths were shut, and the morning light revealed not Daniel's destruction, but his deliverance. The trap turned into a testimony, an unshakable declaration of God's faithfulness. The very same men who conspired against him fell into the pit they prepared. This is the way of divine justice. What is designed to bury you often becomes the soil in which your testimony grows. Perhaps you've walked through seasons where every effort seemed sabotaged, where doors slammed shut in your face and opportunities dissolved at the last moment. Maybe you've cried out in confusion, asking why betrayal and disappointment keep circling your life. Friend, those were not wasted experiences. God was allowing the enemy to reveal his hand, and in doing so, he was preparing you for vindication that could not be denied. The greater the snare, the greater the story that comes out of it. Your scars will not remain silent. They will speak louder than the lies. It is a divine irony that every scheme meant to ruin you becomes evidence of your calling. For if you were not chosen, there would be no traps. Nobody bothers to attack what has no value. The pressure against you is proof of the treasure within you. And when the trap backfires, when the snare breaks open, and you walk free, you will carry a testimony no enemy can erase. You will stand as living evidence that God is not mocked, that his children are not abandoned, and that no weapon formed against them can prosper. What you thought would end your journey will become the very story that announces it. The people who watched with anticipation for your downfall will be forced to acknowledge your rise. Every hidden plot, every whispered conspiracy, every secret snare, they will not consume you, but they will magnify the one who rescues you. And when you tell your story, others who face their own traps will find hope, courage, and faith. What was meant to be your prison will become your pulpit. That is the promise of God. The lies spoken against you will become ladders for your promotion. There is a peculiar pain that comes not from wounds on the body, but from arrows aimed at your reputation. Lies are sharp, cutting deeper than many physical blows. To be misrepresented, to be misunderstood, to have words twisted and spread against you, this is an agony only the betrayed can fully grasp. Lies have a way of traveling faster than truth, echoing in places you've never walked, shaping images of you that you cannot correct. And yet within this cruel weapon lies one of God's greatest mysteries. The very lies spoken against you become the rungs of a ladder he uses to lift you higher. Joseph knew this well. In Potiphar's house, he was accused of a crime he did not commit. A lie so venomous it carried him from the comfort of management into the depths of a prison cell. To the world, it appeared as though the falsehood had succeeded, but that prison was not the end. It was the passageway to the palace. Without the lie, Joseph may never have met Pharaoh. Without the false accusation, he may not have been positioned for destiny. What was meant to bury him beneath shame elevated him into honor. Lies carry within them a hidden advantage. They draw attention. They bring your name into conversations where it never would have reached. Though the intention is to stain you, the outcome is that more eyes turn in your direction. And when God decides to vindicate you, those very eyes will witness your rise. The lie becomes a stage, the slander becomes a spotlight, and your promotion shines all the brighter, because it came against a backdrop of falsehood. Consider how many times you've been misunderstood, how often your kindness has been painted as weakness, how your intentions have been distorted into narratives that never belonged to you. Each one of those lies hurt, but none of them were wasted. They were setting the stage for a revelation of truth that would speak louder than any slander could. For when God lifts you up, he doesn't do it in silence. He does it in such a way that every voice raised against you is silenced by undeniable evidence of his hand upon your life. The pain of being lied about often tempts us to fight back, to defend ourselves, to clear our own names. But when you entrust your defense to God, you shift the battle into his hands, and he has a way of turning every insult into impact, every slander into stepping stone. The lies do not define you, they refine you. They strip away your dependence on human approval and anchor you in the certainty of divine validation. Your name may be dragged through mud, but remember, mud on a seed does not kill it, it makes it grow. The dirt that others heap upon you is only helping to bury the roots deeper, so your rise can be taller. And when you emerge, the very mouths that spread the lies will be silenced, not by argument, but by undeniable results. Their lies will have built the ladder, but God will have lifted you to the top. The rejection you faced will lead to divine redirection. Rejection is a sting unlike any other. It strikes at the very core of your identity, making you question your worth, your purpose, and even your place in the world. When people you love dismiss you, when opportunities slip through your fingers, when doors you prayed for shut tight before your face, the pain feels personal, almost unbearable. But rejection, when placed in God's hands, is not an ending. It is a redirection. It is the gentle but firm hand of heaven, steering you away from lesser things toward the greater that awaits. Look at how David was rejected by his own family. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king, David wasn't even invited into the room. His father and brothers did not see greatness in him, only insignificance. Yet the oil would not flow until David stood before the prophet. Their rejection was necessary, for it ensured that David's calling could not be mistaken as the approval of men. It was solely the choosing of God. Sometimes rejection is God's way of proving that your destiny is not in the hands of those who dismissed you. Every no you have faced, every time you were overlooked, every moment you were pushed aside was not to destroy you, but to redirect you. A job that never called you back, a relationship that ended abruptly, a friend who turned their back. These painful moments were rerouting you. God knew where that path would lead, and in his mercy, he cut it off before it could consume you. What you saw as rejection was heaven whispering, "You were made for more than this." Think of how many times you prayed for something only to be met with silence or denial. You may have wept over closed doors, begged for certain people to stay, or longed for acceptance that never came. Yet now, looking back, you see that if those doors had opened, they would have trapped you. If those people had stayed, they would have drained you. If that acceptance had come, it would have cheapened the value God placed within you. Rejection saved you from counterfeit blessings so that you could step into authentic ones. Rejection often feels like abandonment, but it is actually alignment. It is God pulling you out of places where your value was diminished, so that he can place you in spaces where your worth will be celebrated. And when that moment of redirection reveals itself, you will realize that every heartbreak was an arrow pointing you closer to destiny. So take heart. The ones who pushed you away only cleared the path for God to draw you nearer. The tables that refuse to seat you will pale in comparison to the table God himself is preparing for you. Rejection may have been painful, but it was also purposeful. It redirected you into the exact place where God's explosive favor is waiting to lift you higher. The storms sent to break you will prepare you for breakthroughs. There are seasons when life feels like an unending tempest. The winds of betrayal, the rains of disappointment, the thunder of loss. They converge all at once, leaving you weary and drenched in despair. Storms come with such force that they shake everything you thought was secure. You find yourself asking, "Why me? Why now? How much longer can I endure this?" Yet what you do not realize in the middle of the downpour is that storms are not designed to destroy you, but to prepare you. They strip away what cannot last, they strengthen what must remain, and they train your spirit for breakthroughs that require endurance. Noah's storm was catastrophic, but it was also redemptive. While others drowned in chaos, Noah's obedience carried him to safety, and that storm prepared the world for a fresh beginning. The disciples trembled on the Sea of Galilee when the winds roared and the waves rose, but that storm became the classroom in which they discovered the authority of Jesus over wind and wave. The storms that come into your life are not random. They are assignments. They break away the unnecessary so that you are ready to hold the weight of your destiny. You may have thought the storms in your life were curses. You may have believed the losses were punishments or the struggles were signs of abandonment. But storms have always been God's hidden workshops. They forge character, deepen faith, and expand your capacity to handle the blessings that lie ahead. Without the storm, you would not know how strong your roots are. Without the storm, you would never learn the depth of God's peace. Without the storm, you would not be equipped for the breakthrough waiting on the other side. Think about the seasons that tried to break you, the sleepless nights, the betrayals that left you hollow, the financial setbacks, the heartbreaks, the loneliness. Each one felt unbearable in the moment, yet here you are. The storm did not destroy you. It prepared you. It taught you resilience. It revealed to you that God's presence is not proven by the absence of storms, but by His ability to sustain you in the midst of them. That is why when the breakthrough arrives, you will not crumble under its weight. You will stand tall, knowing that you were forged in winds and rains far greater than what you face now. And here is the deeper truth. Storms often carry you into places you never would have reached without them. The very waves that threaten to drown you become the currents that push you toward new shores. The very winds that howled against you become the force that propels your journey forward. When you look back, you will see that the storm was not your enemy, but your escort. It was sent not to finish you, but to usher you into the next chapter of your destiny. So do not curse the storms. Do not despise the season of breaking. For the storms you thought would end you are the very ones preparing you for breakthroughs that will leave even your enemies astonished. The betrayal you endured will open doors no man can shut. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds a human heart can carry. It does not come from strangers, but from those you trusted, those you confided in, those whose presence you believed was safe. A stranger's rejection is painful, but the sting of betrayal cuts deeper because it violates the sacred bond of trust. When someone you love turns against you, it feels as though the ground beneath your feet gives way. Yet here lies one of the mysteries of God's plan. Betrayal, though devastating, is often the very force that propels you into destiny. Look at the story of Jesus himself. Judas's betrayal was not a random act, it was a part of the divine script. Without the kiss in the garden, without the 30 pieces of silver, the path to the cross would not have unfolded. And without the cross, there would have been no resurrection. What looked like the ultimate act of treachery was actually the doorway to ultimate redemption. This is the paradox you must hold on to. Betrayal is not the end of your story, but the hinge on which God swings open doors no man can close. Think of Joseph again, sold by his brothers into slavery. What they intended for evil became the instrument of his elevation. If they had never betrayed him, he would have remained in the fields with them, unknown and unseen. But through betrayal, he was taken to Egypt. Through betrayal, he entered the house of Potiphar. Through betrayal, he was positioned in the prison where he would interpret dreams. And through that very betrayal, He came into the presence of Pharaoh and was elevated to rule over a nation. The betrayal was not a detour, it was the passageway. Many of the doors God is preparing to open for you require betrayal to position you correctly. Painful as it may be, betrayal strips you of illusions, frees you from misplaced trust, and forces you to lean on God in ways you never imagined. And it is in that place of dependence that He leads you into doors nobody else could unlock. Betrayal becomes the shaking that moves you out of circles too small for your destiny, pushing you into arenas where His favor can display itself fully. So do not curse those who betrayed you, for their treachery has become your transportation. Their cruelty has become your catalyst. Their attempt to break you became the very push that set you on a course toward doors they themselves cannot enter. And when God opens those doors, no bitterness, no scheme, no slander, no human hand can shut them. You will walk through them, not because men opened them for you, but because God Himself decreed it. Betrayal may have wounded you, but it has also written the invitation to your next level. The shame placed upon you will be exchanged for honor. Shame is a heavy cloak, one that suffocates the soul and whispers lies into your mind. It is the residue of accusations, failures, betrayals, and humiliations. When others mock you, when they point fingers, when they laugh at your pain, shame clings like chains, trying to convince you that your story is over. It tells you that you are unworthy, that you are defeated, that you will never rise again. But what shame fails to understand is that God has a pattern of transforming the very places of disgrace into stages of honor. Hannah knew the pain of shame. Year after year she endured ridicule from Peninnah because her womb was empty. She lived under the weight of mockery, her tears unnoticed by those around her. Yet the very shame that once silenced her became the soil from which Samuel was born, a prophet who would anoint kings. The woman who was scorned became the woman celebrated because God exchanged her reproach for glory. Shame has a way of trying to define you, but it cannot stand against the promises of God. The insults you endured, the laughter you heard behind your back, the times you were treated as if you were less, these were not the conclusion of your story. They were the setup for God to display His honor upon your life. When He lifts you, He does not erase the memory of your shame. He transforms it so that even your enemies recognize His hand. The very people who once mocked you will have no choice but to acknowledge the shift. God has always chosen the weak things of the world to shame the strong, the foolish things to confound the wise. He delights in raising up the overlooked and placing crowns on those who were cast aside. Your shame is about to be exchanged for honor, and when it happens, it will not be subtle. It will be public, undeniable, and irreversible. Think of the cross. The cross was meant to be the ultimate symbol of shame, a brutal, humiliating death reserved for criminals. Yet it became the very emblem of victory, the place where honor triumphed over disgrace. What was meant to humiliate became the foundation of eternal glory. In the same way, the things in your life that were meant to shame you, the betrayals, the failures, the lies, will be transformed into testimonies of honor. The tears you cried in silence, the moments you hung your head, the nights you felt forgotten, all of these are about to be rewritten. Where others tried to label you, God is about to rename you. Where others tried to bury you, God is about to reveal you. The shame that once weighed on your shoulders will be the very thing that magnifies the honor He is placing on your life. When people look at you, they will no longer see the scars of disgrace, but the shine of God's glory. The attacks themselves will be the evidence of God's favor exploding in your life. When you look back at your life, you will notice a pattern. The times of greatest attack often preceded the times of greatest blessing. The enemy does not waste his energy on people who pose no threat. The fact that you have been targeted, misrepresented, betrayed, rejected, and shamed is not proof of weakness. It is proof of significance. You were chosen, and your presence disrupts the powers of darkness. That is why the attacks have been so relentless. Yet here is the truth that shifts everything. The very attacks against you are becoming the evidence of God's favor on you. When the enemy comes against you, it is because he sees what God has already declared over you. He sees potential that you have not even fully stepped into yet. He sees destiny written over your life, and he trembles at the thought of it manifesting. So he launches his weapons, hoping to distract you, discourage you, or derail you. But what he forgets every time is that God specializes in backfiring strategies. The attacks that were supposed to take you out become the announcements that lift you up. Job endured wave after wave of attack, his possessions stripped, his children taken, his body afflicted. From the outside, it looked like a life collapsing, but in reality, it was the stage for double restoration. His attack became the evidence of favor, for only someone with extraordinary destiny would face such extraordinary opposition. And when the restoration came, it was undeniable that God's hand was upon him. The same is true for you. The attacks are not random, they are a signal. They are heaven's way of whispering that something powerful is about to be birthed. Do not mistake the intensity of the warfare as abandonment. Instead, see it as confirmation that God's favor is about to explode in ways beyond your imagination. The greater the opposition, the greater the breakthrough. The louder the attack, the louder the testimony that will follow. You may feel weary standing in the midst of the battle, wondering when relief will come. But let your heart rest in this assurance. Every attack is being transformed into evidence. The slander against your name will be silenced by undeniable honor. The betrayal you endured will be overshadowed by doors only God could open. The storms that shook you will be remembered only as the training ground for your breakthroughs. Each attack is not working against you, but working for you, making your testimony all the more unshakable when God reveals his favor upon your life. Soon, the same people who questioned your worth will have no choice but to acknowledge your rise. The same ones who laughed will fall silent when they see how God has chosen to exalt you. The very attacks meant to bury you will become the proof that you are unstoppable with his hand upon you. The attacks are not the end, they are the evidence.